Call the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order on December 7, 2015. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first and second items on the agenda are the approval of regular session meeting minutes and the approval of executive session meeting minutes. As we do not have those this evening, I'll entertain a motion to postpone those to our next meeting.
Motion to postpone the approval of executive session and regular session meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starsik?
Yes.
Selectman Dolder?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is Chief Brian Hickey with Ben Lewis and David White. Their swearing-in ceremony, and Mr. Craver is here to do his duty.
There's a fire alarm coming in.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as members of the Webster Fire Department according to the best of your abilities and understandings, agreeable to the town bylaws and the laws of the Commonwealth, so help you God. Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Is that right?
Sure.
Here's your chance to get stuck.
It has to be
Would've been the
one.
first time. Would've been the first time.
You're making them turn red. Gentlemen, please have a seat. Chief, you want to introduce him?
So, David and Ben spent every Tuesday and every Thursday night and every Saturday from July until November on their own time without pay, going to the Massachusetts State Fire Academy, going through the Firefighter 1-2 program. So both of them graduated late last month, and Ben was actually the spokesperson for his class. So we're proud of both of them, and looking forward to having them on board with us at the fire department.
Great, thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, would you like to say anything on your behalfs? Don't be nervous.
We also spent Sundays there.
And a couple Wednesdays.
Very happy to be here. Great opportunity. From the second I walked into the fire department and met Chief and some other guys on shift, I felt welcomed. They've taught me so much that I wouldn't even expect to learn in this short amount of time that I've had the opportunity to hang out down there. So I look forward to continue.
Great.
He said it perfectly. The only thing I would add is that the fire department here in Webster really does seem like a true family. Everybody's welcoming and very willing and eager to teach us new guys their way of doing things.
Well, on behalf of the town, we welcome you. We encourage you to learn. Chief Hickey has an incredible amount of knowledge. I served for 11 years, and it was a great experience. There was one thing that Chief Wentworth, I'll never forget what he said. Keep your eyes open and your ears open and your mouth shut, and he's do your job. But I'm sure you guys under Brian's tutelage will do great, and we're excited to have you on board, and thank you for donating your time during your class. And if there are any other questions or comments from the board, please feel free.
Thank you for your commitment to our town, and thank you for choosing to be part of our community. I mean, it's no surprise that sometimes it can be a busy shop when we have mill fires and any other thing, and it's an honor to have people getting involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. Next item on the agenda is the Mass Organic Therapy, Inc.
Good evening, Mr.
Please
Chairman,
have a seat.
distinguished members of the board. My name is, thank you once again for having me. My name is Patrick Johnson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Mass Organic Therapy. We are one of the applicants for a registered marijuana dispensary in the state of Massachusetts. We have currently applied for 3 different dispensaries, and we're here today to seek a letter of non-opposition for us to operate a cultivation facility here in the town of Webster at 30 Worcester Road. Potentially, we're still trying to work out the details with the landlord. We do currently have an alternate cultivation site out in Warren, but purely based on logistics, we do have a letter of non-opposition to open a dispensary in the town of Oxford. So purely based on logistics and the quality of this building, this would be a much better location for us. So we're hoping that we can move forward with a letter of non-opposition. And I know I've sent our management operation profile. Hopefully that had all the information you need about our group, our experience, and also a proposed host agreement.
We thought, we had thought we lost you, but we're happy to, well, at least I am, I don't know about the rest of the board, happy to have you back. My personal opinion is that I think it would be a great additive to the town. We are a board that is trying to be pro-business, and this is a business, a little different business, but it's still business. And it's still something that I think is important, in my opinion. But I'll open it up to any questions from the board.
I guess the first question I had is, we did have some conversations with another company that we had negotiated some different terms with, and I guess, had you seen those terms?
I personally am not. I work with Joseph Losardi, who's a consultant, a personal friend of mine. I know he's involved with some other groups. So I think this host agreement is based on the one that was used up in Amesbury for the first dispensary open in Massachusetts, which is run by some public ones. So it's identical to that town. So I have not seen, I mean, so this agreement, I have not seen their specific one, but Joseph let me know that this is pretty much verbatim what was agreed upon.
So, through the chair, my understanding is when we had met with the other organization, which I believe is DMC, I'm under the impression they had withdrawn, possibly because they couldn't get our host agreement passed with their board of directors. I don't know if the acting town administrator can speak to that, if there's any validity to that you recall?
That was not shared with us. The reason why they chose to withdraw their application, if you will, here, was not shared.
Oh, okay, so I guess I'm misunderstanding something. So I'm not sure where I heard that from unless I conjured it up, but the point I'm getting at is that, you know, the host agreement obviously seems like what can make or break the deal, and I think we at this table are hopefully all on board with trying to make a deal. I did review the management profile and everything in this substantial packet quite thoroughly, and I was pretty impressed with it, considering we've met not only with your organization but with others as well. So now I can say we're probably pretty comfortable with the terminology and the way the process works at the state level. and seeing the benefits that the town would see as well. So this agreement, as you're saying, was modeled after a different town that your organization is comfortable with, and that if we gave you a letter of non-opposition or support, that this would basically be signed, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, so obviously our board has looked at this and this is not a problem for them. This is obviously contingent on us getting a license and moving forward in this town,
Sure.
right, obviously. And being allowed, right, where there's some limitations from the DPH, which we're still trying to work through, and it's a long, tedious process, but yeah. From our side, this, everything in here is something we'd be willing to move forward with.
Okay, so you said that you were looking at another cultivation facility as a possibility that wasn't as good logistically speaking?
Yeah, so it's in Warren, right? So it's a little bit further out. It's cheaper. It's not as good quality. It's not. It's a little bit more rundown, right? So we need a little bit more
So it needs
renovation.
more infrastructure and build
Yeah.
out.
So and I think just purely logistically, this makes more sense for us. It's a better town, and it's our preference would be to operate out of the town of Webster.
Now, would it make a difference for your organization, depending on which letter we would vote, how that would influence whether or not we received you here, or if you ended up going to Warren? Does that change anything at the state level for you?
Supposedly, it's a 1 or a 0 from the state. You need either or. Certainly, a letter of support would work in our favor, right? Especially if there are two conflicting groups, probably in the same locale. But as far as we know, there's no. It's as long as you don't get opposed, either one of the other two letters supposedly weighs the same. But certainly, a letter of support would look much more favorable for us.
And what's your timeline to have a letter?
Sorry, from you?
Well, I mean, my understanding is, you go through the application process, you have X amount of days, you have to get the letter of support on opposition.
Yeah, I agree. So, sorry, the reason I was confused was because the state, there was a timeline from the state, which is, it's kind of blown out, right? So it's supposed to be 8 weeks, between each phase, and now it's been 16 weeks since we really heard from the state, so that timeline's out the window. So for us, we hope to get invited, so nobody's been invited as of, I think, last Friday to submit a letter of our site profile, which is the next step. We hope to get invited to somebody to submit a letter of, or a site profile within a week or two.
So I guess the point I'm getting at is I'm asking if you need something from us tonight, because obviously we don't have our entire board here, and I don't think that'd be fair for us.
Yeah, no, so certainly don't need it tonight, but hopefully within the next week or so. Like I said, we have not, it could take DPH another month, we don't know, but we would like to have everything ready to move forward as soon as we hear from them. We have everything ready on our site. And like I said, we do have what we need to move forward, but we prefer to kind of, move forward with your support, so,
Well, we don't meet
better.
until, again, the
21st.
21st.
back for a while then, right?
Yeah.
So we probably would have to take a vote without them for them to meet in time.
So,
21st?
yeah, no, we would have to, I would assume we'd have to vote on that tonight.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, I think he was a supporter anyway, so hopefully he can understand anything we decide to do, if we decide to do anything.
So, Mr. Johnson, the contract we have today, the agreement, this has already been signed with Warren?
With Warren, so we've signed an agreement with Warren.
Okay, and they've issued their letter of non-opposition or support?
Non-opposition we have from.
Okay. And you've already signed this identical agreement?
Joseph handled that. I haven't seen the signed version. Yes, he has that, but yeah, that's my.
Okay.
Andrew?
Yeah, and just one other question. I think the only question I have in here is this is an agreement that just goes on continuously, and there's no ability for the town to renegotiate. And I guess that's good for your company. I'm not sure that it's the best thing for the town because it's only dealing with a consumer price index.
I mean, I think this is certainly something we would be open to kind of renegotiate. Typically, everything we've done with our leases has been 5 years, so if it's something we can, we could probably put in a clause to renegotiate, 5 years, if that's.
That's something I'd be more comfortable with.
Yeah.
And we had talked about something as well.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I did review the agreement that we had proposed to DMCTC and along with this one. This is modeled after the true Amesbury, if you will, agreement.
Yeah.
There was a clause that I had added to the proposed agreement stating that in the event that you enter into an agreement with another community and it provides for a better deal, if you will, that we would then want that better deal also.
Yeah.
Commonly known as the most favored nations
Yeah.
Right.
clause. Yeah.
All, that makes complete sense, but we would only cultivate in one place, so it really wouldn't, we would dispense in 3 locations, but we only cultivate in one.
Okay, so this would be your only
This would
cultivation
be the only
facility?
cultivation facility,
Oh,
so,
okay.
right, I mean, there's,
Okay.
it would, I mean, technically, we could dispense it, and cultivate in multiple locations, but logistically, it's not something we are planning to do. Right, the location here is big enough to support all 3 dispensaries, and just economy of scale, that's what we'd be looking to do.
So, would you be amenable to including this clause in there, in the event that you do decide to cultivate in another community?
Sure. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's not something we're gonna do, but if you want that in there, we can
Yeah.
certainly.
And some protection.
Yeah.
That was my only,
Yeah, and I know speaking of the other one, the dollars were significantly different, unfortunately for the town. We had thought, a total of 125,000 more over the course of the 5 years. But, I think in light of the fact that you've already signed an agreement with Warren, it kind of sets the different market. And I know there was a small difference with regards to the public charities amount as well.
right.
So,
Again, that is a minimum of $5,000.
Yeah, and certainly we probably go way above that, to be quite honest, but we don't have that discretion.
Mhm.
that's all I had.
So, my thought, looking at the agreement, I think Selectman Becker brought up a concern that I have, is looking for amending it through a renewal process. So after maybe 5 years, we look to renegotiate. I'm not sure what time period your board would be comfortable with. I'm not really sure what the right answer is. I mean, I know he said 5. I was thinking maybe a little sooner, like 3, just to make sure that all parties considered are comfortable with the agreement.
It's something I bring back to the board. I know typically 5 years is, everything we've done around all the leases has been 5 years,
Mhm.
and then we renegotiate, so.
Yeah, so that's a more standard term for you that fits in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just something we've been operating with in general, so.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
We brought in the solar farm. I think the solar farm has been very good to us over the last 2 years.
It's not complete yet.
Right.
It's 90% complete, but we've received 2 $55,000
Correct.
payments so far, so.
So the fact that, your facility could potentially come into town and also be, a potentially, not a windfall, but it would help us.
Yeah.
We know as a board next year, our budget in this town is going to be completely out of whack. We understand what we're getting into. Pam has told us what to expect. And whatever this turns out to be, if it does turn out to be positive, it could help us at least a little bit. Because we don't know what the budgets next year are going to be like. And again, Webster is trying to, we have maybe 5 or 6 board members from the Webster Dudley Oxford Chamber of Commerce that are here, so we're trying to be pro-business as much as we possibly can, not against bringing businesses in the town, because it's going to bring jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not something I touched upon, but yeah, there is gonna be, a good amount of jobs. I mean, probably between 20 and 30 kind of full-time jobs, high-paying jobs, full benefits.
Mhm.
We're looking to work only with kind of local contractors on the build-out and so forth. So, I mean, it might not benefit the town, the town budget directly, but certainly a lot of benefit to the town and its residents that way.
Oh, without a doubt.
The only other question I have is the previous company, DMCT, did we issue a letter of non-opposition or a letter of support?
Neither,
We didn't do anything.
We didn't do either.
no. Right, the board had decided
We
to
were waiting
hold
for the
off.
contract.
Right, pending the approval of the host agreement before you did that.
So the way I see it, if you can get this agreement to the point where we can have, as Pam put it, that clause that basically guarantees that if you get another deal somewhere else, we get that as well. And if we have the ability to renegotiate the terms after 5 years, which seems pretty fair, I would be comfortable issuing a letter of support. Now, I'm not sure if that's something you need to revisit with your board first, or if you have the authority to just say, they'll go for that, it's not a problem. And then we would probably be looking to do a vote tonight, I would think.
I mean, if we're talking 5 versus 3, then yeah, I would feel comfortable saying that, yeah, we're okay with that.
Okay, so with that said, then I'll make a motion to issue a letter of support for mass organic therapy.
Second.
Just discussion,
The
and
decision.
that the letter of support would be contingent upon.
Contingent upon
the-
having,
the host
how do I-
agreement.
yeah, contingent upon the additions to the host agreement. There you go. Thank you.
Was there a second?
Yep. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starzak?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming back to us. We appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is Jason Piata, appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Thank you, Jason, for coming in. We appreciate it. Thank you. What do we have open? Is it, which position is open?
It's a regular,
A regular
one
appointment?
regular
Okay.
position.
I know have you been an alternate, or you were a regular?
Right, I was a alternate appointed last August, or the August of 2014, so roughly a year and a half. I've served as a associate member of the board, and due to the openings and members being not showing up to several meetings, I've been appointed to hear a majority of the cases, or the appeals, the applications that have been brought before the board. As my letter of September 22nd indicates, I am requesting to be a permanent member of the ZBA, a zoning board of appeals, first because of my legal education, where I was exposed to zoning law and theory by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A. Second, as I indicated prior, my year and a half of practical experience in interpreting and using Massachusetts General Law and Webster bylaws in hearing these appeal applications. And third, and lastly, this is part of my, what I feel is a civil service and duty to help the town of Webster and serve the community with my legal education.
Any questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
All right, given Mr. Piata's background and education, I would make a motion to appoint Jason to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starzak?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Thank you. What, how long does it go till?
3 years. Isn't it 3 years? Yeah, 3-year term.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is Mark Becker, a tax classification hearing.
Greetings, everybody.
Did you save a tree this time, Mark?
We didn't do as many as in the past.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. One for Brian, if you got one.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, once again, the annual tax classification hearing. Legal notice for the town of Webster, public hearing, tax classification. The Board of Selectmen, in coordination with the Board of Assessors, will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 7th at 7:15. The Selectmen's Meeting Room, second floor, Town Hall. I'm going to do some abbreviation on this. This is in conformity with Mass provisions of Mass General laws for the purpose of holding a tax classification hearing to establish the relative tax burden to be borne by each class of the properties for fiscal 16. All interested parties are invited to attend and participate. Written and oral comments will be accepted from the public prior to and during the meeting. Board of Assessors. Tax classification, basically we need to have a hearing. We have to have the notice. The role of the selectmen is the selectman is given options, and then they take a vote on which option is best for them or for the community. The assessors are here to provide the information, not necessarily make suggestions, but of course we do. Tax policy options. Municipalities have several options in distributing the tax levy amongst taxpayers under property tax classification. Use of these options result in multiple tax rates for different property classes because they change the components used to calculate the rate, the amount of the tax levy being paid by, or the assessed valuation of a class. The total tax levy does remain the same. Split or single rate. Municipalities must decide to tax all classes of property at their full and cash value share of the levy, which results in a single rate, or to reduce the share of a tax levy paid by the residential or open space owners and shift those taxes to the commercial, industrial, personal property, which results in a split rate. Page 3 is just an overview of the past handful of decades, how many communities do the split rate. It goes up, it goes down, it never really goes over 110. There are 353 communities in Massachusetts that do have tax classification or set the rates. Something we've always talked about is the excess levy. The excess levy is an amount that gets left on the table when we try to calculate what we can raise and utilize for the town. A few years ago, it was difficult to get the numbers to come really close, and then we actually got lucky for about 6 or 7 years in a row, and we're under the $2,000 range. Last year, as the numbers came together, we just couldn't get things to tighten up, and it was a little over 10,000. Page 4 is a historical perspective over the last 13 or 14 years. With the shift, in days gone by, we shifted up to 160%, and really the commercial rate was almost twice of what the residential rate was. On the left-hand column, we have a single rate, which would be the rate if everybody paid. Then we have what would be the shifted residential rate, and then I've calculated what I call the residential difference. I haven't calculated the commercial difference, but we can always do that on our own. In the early years of '02 going into '03 was our first major boost of values. And when values go up, rates go down. And we actually had that trend right through the '07 to '08 timeframe when we had one of our real estate crashes and the economy falling apart. And then as values dropped, the tax rates would go up. So it's really an inverse relationship. We're always raising an amount of money and we're always dividing it by the value. So that's how we get the rates. In the bottom part of this page is again a 20-plus year review of what's called new growth. We experienced a very nice new growth our last few years, this year being almost as good as it was 8 or 10 years ago. New growth is new tax dollars. On top of new tax dollars, you have the 2.5%, and then we also have debt exclusions. Going backwards last year, in fiscal 15, we had gone from an $800,000 debt exclusion sewer amount on our tax levy to basically a $2.2 million debt exclusion for all of our projects that finally came into permanent financing. That $1,400,000 increase into the tax levy was the major reason why our tax rate on the residential side went up 10.5%. So between 14 and 15, our rate went from 13.29 up to 14.68, which is basically $1.39 of an increase. This year, we do not have any major additions to our debt exclusion. The Bay Path went into permanent financing, and out of all of our debt structure, the Bay Path is responsible for that $50,000 or $60,000 increase. And I have included that on one of my last pages. Since we haven't done any water or sewer shifting to help reduce the rates the last few years, that's held it tight. But I'd like to include this as the sewer debt shift. Some people remember back more than a handful of years ago when we shifted great amounts of money to help soften the burden of the betterments around the lake. Page 5 is something that we refer to as our tax levy. Just working into where it's saying calculate FY16 levy limit. That 19,151 was the previous year's levy. The 478,000 is this year's 2.5 increase, which Prop 2.5 in the 80s allows you to have. Our new growth, which is a solid number. So we come into what I refer to as a subtotal or our beginning levy of 19,935,000. This year, the new debt exclusion amount is 2,257,000. So our maximum levy that we're looking to put into our equation is 22,192,000. Page 6 is just a recap of last year into this year's debt schedules. We always have something called net and gross. The major difference on this year's debt and gross, actually, I think I gave us last year's.
Yeah, this
debt
is
and
last
gross.
year's.
Sorry about that, but it's pretty close. Would be the amount of money that is reducing our police station debt, which is out over the next 20 years, or I think 17 years left. So that's actually a nice number to see that we always talk about. It's netted out from the money that was borrowed to be paid. Page 7 is the fund sheet. It's the what-if work scenario. Last year, we settled on a 1.3 down from the 1.36. In the paperwork and in running the what-ifs into the program, Pam and I were watching how the numbers would roll and what we could do to try to close the gap. And it's an amazing thing. If we just kept the new levy and kept the old percentage, which is in the bottom column, our new tax rate for the single would be $15.85, where last year's single rate was $15.60. So even though we're a year later, our levy is a little higher, but because we've had the new growth in value, we don't really have a major jump in the tax dollar amount. So if we say, let's just look at a level playing field versus last year. Last year we had 1468 with a 1560 single rate with a 92-cent residential differential. That's basically the savings per thousand that a single family owner takes as we look into this tax classification. When I was working my numbers down and just kind of looking and reviewing, the numbers that really caught my eye were the 1505, 1508, 1511, where we were bringing that residential difference down into that below 80 cents, down into that 70 cents difference. When we talk about the residential difference being an amount, what's the attributable increase to the business properties? What I've done is, in calculating 8 or 10 steps, the lowest amount where we would not have excess levy is at the 1.23. And at the 1.23, the numbers are looking to be out at the $15.14 per thousand and the 19.49 per thousand. And, you know, you might say, Mark, why were you trying to go down or up? Basically, I wasn't even coming close under the $10,000 mark as I came below my 126. I immediately fell on the 126 number as a point to start, trying to get that differential under 80 cents. When we talk about the differential, right now, the number that we're looking at, that 1.23, or $15.14 for residential rate, and $19.49 for the commercial rate, it's a 71-cent reduction in tax, and it's an attributable $3.64 increase. So I always look at percentages. You know, sometimes you have easy rules of thumb. At $3.64 increase off of a $20 rate, that's about a 15% rate. $3 and change from last year. But when we take a look at it coming down, we're still higher than what the average would be. So, you know, when we're looking to try to get parity again, I know the chamber's here, and we do have a handful of our local businesses who work really hard at keeping the town rolling and going. I'm pretty much finished. I'll answer questions if anybody has a thought. You know, there's a lot of numbers to look at, and the easiest way to do it is you try to figure if we're still going to continue in the direction that we've been pointing ourselves in since basically 07, 08. Taking the full swallow this year is always too much to ask, especially after last year's major tax increase because of the prop override. Something to do about the debt exclusions. Each year they will go down a little bit over time. Not as much as we would like to see because they're all on basically a 20-year track.
Yes.
And people have always asked me right now, Mark, what's going to happen when the library comes? Well, the library's coming, whether it's 2 years or 3 years away. The interesting part about the library, with 75% funding and 25% cost, 25% cost spread out over 20 years is a soft number to really, you know, massage. But everything is real numbers. I'll be, you know, first one to say that. From a positive standpoint, the town did have about a $40 million increase in values. As a town, we're back over $1.4 billion. Still about $200 million less than we were back in the 07, 08 range, when values really took it. The commercial properties had been a laggard in value rebound, but as we look around town with some of the activity going on East Main Street, and, Route 12, Thompson Road, and a few other spots, the values of the purchases, Thompson Road's a great example. You got a lot of things jumping over there, and some vacancies over there actually too. But it's good. Any questions, sir?
Well, why don't we open it up to members in the audience first, and then we can take our questions. So, someone from the audience wants to step up, and Stuart, how are you? Good. And if you can just introduce yourself and then go from there.
Sure. Stuart Loosemore. I'm here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. First, want to thank the board for the opportunity to speak tonight. Second, want to thank the board for their votes in past years. We always kind of look forward, and I'd like to take a second to look back and thank the board for their advocacy and their forward thinking on this issue. You've made this a business-friendly community. We saw it tonight with the discussion about the dispensary. You know, you're open to businesses coming here, and from the chamber, that puts a big smile on our face. And the assessor really makes it easy for me. Looking over the numbers, I think his endorsement of the 1.23 commercial industrial factor is a reasonable and sound advice. It helps continue the momentum that this board has had over the past few years of narrowing that shift and closing the delta between the residential and business community, but doing it in a methodical and a way that keeps a fair and balanced approach for all taxpayers. Nobody ever wants to pay more taxes, but helping to kind of bring it back towards a level of parity, but doing it methodically and making sure you're not putting any sort of disproportionate burden in that shift onto one group or another is much appreciated. Again, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions should you have them.
Any questions for Stuart? Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Questions for Mr. Becker from the board?
Mark, if I could, on page 4. So I think that's the trend that Mr. Lewismore was just talking about, in the shift column going down to from the 1.3 down to the 1.23.
Yes.
And I think, certainly it follows the history, and hopefully at some point, we'll just continue the trend and eventually get to parity, but I think it's a very good trend to follow.
My question, Mark, would be, if someone owns an average home, let's say $250,000, what will their tax rate, what is their quarterly tax rate going to increase? Approximately by how many dollars?
I'm going to say not much. Let me just do just a quick.
It doesn't need to be exact. I'm not looking for exact.
I
It's just
only worked on exacts. 15, 14, 71 cents more. 71 times 2, $140, 35 a quarter.
$35 a quarter.
140 for a year, 220, 210, 70 cents per thousand. Is that my differential? Let me just do it really quick. 15.
Would you like a calculator?
46 cents per thousand. 71's a differential. So 46 cents times 200 would be about $82, $84 a year, or $20 a quarter.
Okay. That's at the 1.23.
That's yes. In quickly looking at the number, I was confusing my residential differential, my savings.
Gotcha.
Okay, times 1,000. But when we're looking at a $5.14 tax rate, when the tax rate is $14.68, 32 cents and 14 cents is 46 cents. And I always giggle with people over what's an average home in Webster. Mathematically, we're at 225. And mathematically, that number sits at about 290 in the hierarchy of all the towns. When we take our median property, the value is about 172, 168, because we have so many higher assessed value homes. It drags that middle of the road and obscures it a little bit.
Right.
But basically, a little over $84 or $20 or $21 a quarter would be that 46 cents per thousand times 200, $85, $90.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Becker? I'll entertain a motion on anything.
I guess I would make a motion to agree with the recommendation from Mr. Becker.
Second.
If you could
Motion.
if you could just add the 1.23.
Yeah,
Right.
CIP.
Motion's been made and seconded for the 1.23. Discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starsik?
Yes.
Selectman Gilda?
Yes.
Chairman Bork?
Yes. Another great job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And if I might say, it was really, it's a blessing how easy things are going with the Department of Revenue and the state, and the governor advocating through down into the system. And earlier this past week, he was actually sponsoring a bill and legislation where the communities, the assessors have always been asking the state to extend or expand a 3-year review to a 4 or 5-year review. Instead of treating us with the whip and the stick, be more friendly and help. So now they're really reviewers versus, really putting it to you. As I said last meeting, it was the quickest and fastest we've ever gotten our numbers approved Our numbers came together handsomely today,
Today.
in record time at the wire.
That's how we work the best.
Yeah, we work under the wire, and I'm hoping to get paperwork to the DOR by Wednesday or Thursday, and maybe Monday, Tuesday, or maybe Friday, get a rate settled. I did hear Selectman Jolder's leaving on Wednesday, so I might need to get a signature or two, just to have a spare one sitting somewhere. I thank you, and a pleasure.
All right, thank you, Mark.
I do have to say, it is such a pleasure to work with Mark, particularly who, he just knows his stuff, doing this for so long. And it's a pleasure working with him. And, you know, it is, we get right down to the wire. I mean, I was back and forth at 5:30 tonight, and we were trying to see, it's really, I don't know, a sickness, but we try and get that excess levy capacity as close to zero as we can. And we're at about $844, so I'm so excited. But
Splitting atoms and still leaving a little bit in case we need to do the massage over the next few days. But there's always something called overlay. Overlay is where all the exemptions go. We have $100,000 worth of elderly and veterans and handicap and blind people in town. And that's also where if I have a challenge as an abatement, or if I get dragged into the appellate tax board, I did get a couple releases from certain people who were fighting in the ATB. They kind of agreed with me. Looking forward to the future than the past. Some of our larger vacant big storefronts that we're looking to fill. But and I've only been here a few years, not quite as long as some people in municipal government.
Thank you, Mark. Next item is the poll hearing for National Grid South Main Street.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
So we're here just to go over pole 1 on South Main Street. It's the pole that's located currently right in front of the police station. Right now, it's the last pole in the street. It's noticeably leaning towards one direction, where our wire is and Verizon's wire is. It's also rotted, needs to be replaced. We're petitioning for an installation on the existing pole, replacing the pole first off, and installing a push brace, which is a secondary pole, to work against the tension on the wire. It would be going away from the entrance of the current police station, in line with the edge of the sidewalk.
So, I apologize if I
Good.
could, Mr. Chairman. In the same location you're going?
In the same location, yeah. In the same location. It's just we're installing a 35-foot pole set on a 45-degree angle, just to offset the tension from what the wires are causing. Because, I mean, it's right down the street. I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Right, isn't this the pole that we have asked to be removed, or?
Or moved,
Or
because that's at the
moved,
entrance
right.
of the emergency entrance for the police cars, if I remember right. Right at the
Yeah.
lights, you take the right as you're coming
It's right across
southwise.
from the AAA.
Right, but as you're coming southwise, you're at the lights, and there's a pole just before you make the right-hand
circled
turn
in
for
the
the police
diagram.
cars. Right.
If you want to see it.
Okay.
So have you talked to the police chief? I guess that's, would be one of the
I personally have not. I'm not sure.
because I think he'd be advocating to move it 2 or 3 feet.
Right, right.
Because
So
it
you're
is,
looking for
it is
relocation.
a hard time for the cruisers to make that right-hand turn, that 90-degree right-hand turn.
Okay. We are serving, what I'm aware of is that we're serving the AAA building across the street off of that pole. So we'll still need to be able to serve that building. So a relocation of a few feet, as long as we have, it's about 18 feet that we need for the distance between the end of the the push brace pole to the pole is an extra 18 feet. So if we can relocate that in the direction that you would like, I'm sure we don't have a problem, as long as we can still continue to serve that AAA building.
I mean, I would just ask to talk to the chief and/or the
Right.
town engineer
Yes.
prior to the final, as I think moving it, again, maybe 2 or 3 feet would be very appreciative.
Right, I mean, and we've been discussing this since the beginning of
Since-
the police station project, and they've been in there for over a year now, so I thought that this was going to be to remove or move the pole rather than to replace it on the very same spot.
When we started in the same spot, it was a
Right,
concern.
Yeah, that's something I can definitely look into.
Okay.
okay.
I can,
All right.
yeah, I can look into it and get that prepared and ready for the next.
For our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, that'd be
That
great.
would be on the 21st.
First.
The 21st?
And furthermore, would it be possible maybe to find a different bracing mechanism? Because having that push brace, I would fear would interfere with any visibility. Because I know trying to look around a telephone pole if you're distracted can be kind of difficult. And then having another one like that, I know sometimes, what's the one they do? The pole across the street
A
with the
stub
wire and
pole.
the anchor?
Yeah, stub
You know,
pole.
maybe that.
So the
be
tension that
possible.
is going, that we need to offset is currently going up the street, and we need so if we did a stub pole in that instance, we'd be adding a pole closer to the town hall. So behind that in line, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, it doesn't really suit
Yeah.
the correct purpose for this. The only reason why we use stub poles, stub poles, push braces, is for situations like this. We tend to not want to use them. Usually anchoring and guying is the easier way to go about it. This is a unique location, so, yeah.
So there's no easy answer is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's, you know, I guess push braces are one of those things that, you know, we still need to be able to reinforce the pole the correct way. And, you know, a second pole is the only way to do it, unfortunately, but.
Sure, okay.
Good, then we'll have you back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next item on the agenda is the acting town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Abbreviated tonight. I attended a library planning and building committee meeting on Wednesday, December 2nd. I attended the tree lighting event on Friday, December 4th, which 3 of you were here, and very successful event. I think we had close to 500 people here. The auditorium was packed. Kudos to Ms. Deborah Russo and her team. They do an outstanding job, and I think everyone had a good time that evening. So I held a finance team this morning, Monday, December 7th. Under departmental updates and announcements, the FY16 second quarter utility bills, just a reminder, they're due a week from today, next Monday, December 14th, in the town hall. Of course, will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Webster Police Department coat drive. The police department is currently conducting their annual coat, hat, and gloves drive. All sizes from children to adult are accepted. Articles of clothing should be clean and wearable. Winter coats, hats, and gloves may be dropped off at the police department anytime during the winter months. Donated items will be brought to the Webster Food Share for distribution. The Webster Police Department toy drive. To participate in the police department's annual toy drive, please drop off a new unwrapped toy to the police department anytime or to the assessor's office located on the first floor of the town hall during regular business hours. The collected toys are packaged and delivered by local police officers to families in need residing in our community. This outreach program is greatly appreciated by many of our local families experiencing hardship and cannot be successful without your generosity. Winter Wonderland is scheduled for this Friday and Saturday, December 11th and 12th, down at Memorial Beach from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And under informational items, I've attached a memorandum from our town engineer on project status. As many of you are aware, I do have Mr. Charpentier, who acts as the town's liaison with several of our contractors with regard to our larger projects that are going on in town. And I've asked him to provide an update on those projects. They are here. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want me to read through this quickly for the public's knowledge, or
Hang on one second.
I can read, yes, read quickly, okay. Water Supply Station 1 modifications. The town is required to make operational improvements to Station 1 to comply with the ACO requirement of removing wells 1 and 4 from services by December 30th, 2015. Water Supply Station 1 was taken offline November 23rd. The contractor has removed the existing pumps, motor, and controls and has installed the new pumps, motor, and controls, and is in the process of making the final connections. The project is on schedule to have the station operational and in compliance with the administrative consent order by December 24th. There are a few change orders being prepared as a result of unforeseen conditions. The work at well 5 uncovered a broken check valve that will require the well pump to be removed so that the valve can be replaced. One project goal is to make each well instrument chamber waterproof. It was found that the covers leak, so inserts will be purchased. This will provide a nearly sealed chamber. In order to have a belt and suspenders approach, an upgrade to the flow meters so they are submersible is being considered. There was a project deduct in the amount of $10,000 and adequate contingency to accommodate these modest changes. The ice pigging program, ice pigging for 2015 is complete with nearly 18,500 gallons of ice used to clean 2.7 miles of water lines. We expect to receive the report of results in January. Mass DEP observed the process and was pleased to see the steps Webster is taking toward water quality improvements. Our Park Road water tank, operational improvements are nearly complete at the Park Road tank. The tank has been cleaned with the report due to us in the coming weeks. The check valve has been replaced and the altitude valve is now fully operational. A leaking line gate was encountered during the work and is planned for replacement. The water filtration plant, Webster engaged the engineering firm of Tying and Bond to conduct the site investigation, perform the pilot program, and conceptual design. Wetland flagging will be performed this week with land survey thereafter. The Mass DEP application for pilot approval is being developed for submission in the coming month. Mass DEP Water Division Administrative Consent Order. The two remaining items for compliance are completing Station 1 modifications and submitting the Fall 2015 Unidirectional Flushing Report. Both of these tasks are scheduled to be complete prior to the holiday break with an expected ACO closure shortly thereafter. Again, I do have to say that just 2 years ago, this ACO was several items long. A dozen plus. And for us to have only 2 items on the ACO, one of them being a maintenance issue, is kudos to the water department and Mr. Kraus for getting these things done. It really is a feather in their cap, and all the gentlemen down there who work very hard every day. Our net metering agreements, the second of 3 net metering agreements project is now online. It's Grafton. This added another 15 electrical accounts to previous 3 accounts that accept net metering credits. Now each town entity is receiving the savings: school, highway, water, sewer, general government, and library. The final net metering agreement is our landfill solar farm. And the landfill solar farm, construction at the landfill solar development is 90% complete. Items remaining include the perimeter fence and interconnection gear. Installation of the ladder encountered a problem during test pit excavation. Municipal waste was found in an area previously reported as beyond the limits of waste. This requires a design revision for the gear, which is currently underway. Mass DEP approval of the change is expected this month, with installation to be complete in January. Sewer and water administration building air conditioning. The contract work is complete. One of the replacement units is positioned such that it is venerable to roof ice snow slides. We are evaluating corrective alternatives, including roof-mounted diverter, roof extension, or shifting the unit. Sewer treatment plant clarifier drive replacement. The project includes replacing the drive unit on each of the 3 final clarifiers. Tank 1 was found to have a damaged support cage and column, which required assembly of new units as change order work. These are now installed, as is the drive unit. The supplier is scheduled to be on site January 15th to test and balance the system. If all goes well, Tank 1 can be operational before the holiday break. We have approved a change order for the design engineer to inspect and evaluate the support structures for the other 2 clarifiers in light of what was found on Tank 1. That work will be conducted after the holiday break with replacement of the remaining 2 drives shortly thereafter. The SCADA system, Weston and Sampson CMR, is being awarded the construction contract. Final agreements to be signed this week. The total project budget approved at town meeting was $1.1 million. The total value, and that's water and sewer. The total value of agreements for services from Weston and Sampson and Woodard and Curran is $1,011,281. This leaves a 9% contingency. Project construction is scheduled to begin in early 2016 with a 10-month completion window. On-call town services. Again, this is something that we've never done before. We have engaged 4 firms to provide on-call services to the town. They are R.H. White for plumbing and mechanical, Renowned HVAC and controls for heating and air conditioning, LaFleur Electric, and Mike Petrovich for major and minor electrical work respectively. So that means that we have contracts with these organizations, and now for up to 10 years, we have the ability to maintain these services on an on-call basis without having to go through the procurement process each time we do this. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion to accept the acting town administrator's report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starzak?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Ford?
Yes. Old business. Any old business? New business, 2016 liquor licenses. You got them all.
Yes, I do.
Is there any discussion in regards to any of them?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Courtney provided you with an updated spreadsheet. We do have 2 facilities that did not request renewals, that being the Colonial and Thai Cuisine. I did speak with our inspectional services staff today, and the fire chief, the health inspector, and the building commissioner have been out every day, all day, it seems like, doing inspections. The inspections are complete, but for a handful of establishments, they have not had access to yet. So like I said, there aren't any major issues here. Courtney, we're requesting that you sign the licenses. Courtney holds on to them, and we will update you at the meeting on the 21st, and then again at the first meeting of the new calendar year, if there are any issues with regard to people paying their taxes, getting their taxes up to date, or paying their license or permit fees. We've done it a little differently this year. Our inspectional services staff have gone out and conducted all the inspections, and we're going to collect the fee when they come in and pick up their licenses. So prior to this, they were given notice, they were required to come in and pay the fee, and then we would inspect. But this way, we're done our inspections, they're done. So if they want their liquor license, they need to come in and pay the fees and pick them up at the same time, so.
Now, on the businesses that are not restaurants, do we still go in and inspect those as well?
Yes, they still need to be in compliance with fire safety, and then, of course, the building commissioner does his inspection also.
So I'm going to assume that, like every year, the majority of businesses will pay their taxes probably a few days before the end of the new year, more than likely. And as I recall, this makes a very wonderful time of the year for you. Do we have any ideas on how we can try to alleviate that? I know you've been putting in phone calls to people like the night before and that sort of thing, right? Which I like being pro-business, I don't like babysitting. So I think there's a fine balance there that hopefully maybe we can
Courtney
achieve.
babysits.
Well, and that's why I feel
phone.
bad, because I mean, frankly, it shouldn't have to be your job to babysit these businesses, although we do appreciate their business here. So it just would be nice if they would take a little burden off of you. It's just what I'm getting
Well,
at.
that would be in a perfect world, but
Yeah, I know. It would be better if it was 5 or 10 of them, not like just like 100 here, you know.
Well, most of them will come, I would say, between now and the next couple of weeks.
They're busy too.
Right.
It's
They're
their
doing their
holiday
year-end
season.
stuff.
I don't mind. I make the phone calls on the 30th, you know, you better pick up your license before noon. So it's,
But
You're-
over the
you're pro
last
at it.
couple of years, have the numbers decreased in regards to them waiting to the last minute to pay everything?
yeah, it's,
And imagine you know the usual suspects, so who you really need to
Yes.
kind of put your thumb on to.
And we notify, if they don't come in and pick up their license on the 31st by noontime when we close, the police department is
Please
notified
notify.
and they are closed down at midnight.
And I assume that kind of message goes out to them before,
yes.
so just so they're aware.
They're all well aware of.
Should
We
have.
we have not had an establishment not pick up their license, you know, for that.
Yeah.
Knock on for Mike.
Yeah, well. Very good. You need a vote on these now?
No.
I do.
Oh,
I
you do need a vote on this
because we
time?
didn't vote last time,
Okay.
just that you're renewing the license.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to renew all liquor licenses, right?
Subject to.
Subject to them paying their taxes.
Yes.
Second.
Actually, it's more than liquor licenses, it's actually all,
Right.
all seasonal licenses, correct?
Correct.
All licenses.
All
Right.
licenses, yeah, because it's common vic.
All
and
annual
cardio.
licenses, right.
Right, all annual licenses.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starsky?
Yes.
Selectman Dolda?
Yes.
Chairman Bork?
Yes.
And again, I do have to say, our inspectional services team does an amazing job. You know, Jen, Ted, and Chief Hickey work so well together as a team, and they go out, do their inspections all together, support each other, and we were keeping the board updated, you know, they're doing their job and they're doing it the right way. I mean, there were some establishments that were closed down for a period of time, given the opportunity to comply. And, you know, Jen Sullivan's doing an amazing job, and she'll come back, you know, 7 o'clock at night to re-inspect, just so the establishment can be reopened that night or the next day. And that's what happens, so.
Great. Any other new business? Informational mail.
We did receive a letter with regards to gas leaks. I don't know if that's something we want to try to talk about tonight, or it was disconcerting, the information in there with the amount of gas leaks. I did go on the website that was suggested to go through, and those where the yellows are the ones that are open, gas leaks. So it's, you know, I'm thinking, not knowing any more than what we know in the letter, perhaps it would make sense to have someone from the gas company come and talk to us. I don't know if this is a disproportionate amount of leaks for a community of our size or not. It appeared to be, just based on the information that was on the site.
Well, I think you're really onto something, Selectman Becker, and with that said, I think we could basically just call upon National Grid to say we want an infrastructure update, just to see how many services we have, what they feel the leakage rate is of the infrastructure, and if anything should be done to address it, and if we should be concerned. It's something that I can't recall ever addressing.
Oh, and this letter came in from a gentleman outside of our town, and it's the HEET heat data, and that can be accessed on online. I agree. If that's in form of a motion, I'd second it.
Sure, I'll make it a form of motion then.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starsky?
Yes.
Selectman Dolda?
Yes.
Chairman Bork?
Yes.
Oh, I think that's these are the only I'll do all of them.
Any other informational mail?
Looks like we did get a 45-day yearly operational plan from National Grid regarding public notice review and comment period, which I believe is for their vegetation
Yes.
program, if I'm not mistaken. So that, I think they do this every year, right?
They do.
Yeah, so if anybody has any comments or any issues with National Grid, you can get a hold of us, we'll direct it through to them, or you can reach them.
Besides the rates.
Yeah, besides the rates. Yeah, so it looks like their vegetation they're controlling, I think, is on what, the line to Sutton, that they do every year.
Any other informational now? Any other business unknown at time of posting?
Mr. Chairman, I have some things, as a matter of fact. As the board is aware, I am a delegate to the Worcester County Selectmen's Association, and at one of our meetings, they made me the treasurer of the organization, which I'll gladly accept because it's been a fun organization to work with. With that being said, having the treasury responsibilities shifted over from their previous treasurer, who was there for at least 3 or 4 years, the membership filings were delayed. So this is me formally asking if the board would like to renew their membership with the WSCA, because if they do not, then they need to find a treasurer very soon, because I will not be it. With that said, I did bring a small synopsis as to what we've been up to lately. Usually we meet once a quarter. I typically try to take some notes to bring back information to the board. And also if there's any questions that the board has that they would like to see how things are done in other municipalities, we do have a roundtable discussion every meeting, which I can bring ideas to and see how they handle things as well. And obviously these meetings, another member could come with me as well, so long as there isn't 3 of us to violate any open meeting laws. With that said, we have had speakers such as Lou Evangelitis, District Attorney Joe Early. We did host here in Webster once, and we had Southern Worcester County Communications Center Director Greg Linsky speak on regionalizing the communications center and how that could help other communities, which I was very proud of. And Director Linsky did a very good job at that, as well as touring the new station, which other communities were very jealous, including the Millbury Police Chief, who had a grin from here to here, looking to build a new police department. And lastly, we did have Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce President Tim Murray come and speak to us as well. So every one of these speakers has really given us different tools that we all try to bring forth. I know you may not recall, but I have mentioned certain things that we've spoken on in the past, and I feel that this organization is in short of a mini MMA for Worcester County, which can bring our towns together for advocacy for the state. So with that said, the renewal fee is $50, and entertain any questions.
When was the last time we paid, Mr. Treasurer?
So we paid, because this is actually for FY16, so we were supposed to have paid before July 1st, so that means we haven't paid since the year before that.
So how can you be a member if?
As I said, the organization had undergone a couple of issues because the previous treasurer did not seek re-election, which caused some turmoil. So the organization is a little bit on life support, but I've been working very diligently to jumpstart it. As a matter of fact, I spent probably about 10 hours over the last weekend getting membership forms ready and trying to reach out to more communities, because I believe it is a cause that is bringing together Worcester County, because we all depend on other towns so closely out here. Obviously we've got support from Worcester Chamber of Commerce and trying to show that not everything happens in Boston, that Worcester County is the epicenter of new growth and that we can all work together with our ideals. So I've been working really hard with this organization. It's something that I believe can really gain some traction.
So I would entertain a motion from someone for 15 and 16.
So moved.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Selectman Starzak as our representative to the Worcester County Selectmen.
Well, you already did.
Well, we already did that. It's to
before.
pay the dues.
Yeah, this is to pay the dues that we owe now for FY16.
To become a paid member.
Right.
For 15 and 16.
Okay, so, but 15 will have to wait for a town meeting, because that's a prior year bill.
No,
Right.
15 was paid. I'm
15
saying,
was paid.
right, so we paid FY16.
So 16 and 17?
In July 14, we probably paid 15.
Right, so we're looking to pay,
16,
16.
which should have been paid in
Right.
July 15.
correct.
Okay,
Yes, that's what I was trying to
all
say.
right. Are you sending out invoices?
Yes, and
Okay.
I do have one here.
Perfect, okay.
So it's $50?
It's $50.
Okay,
All right.
so the motion has been made and
Second.
seconded for 2016. Any other discussion?
Sorry for the confusion.
Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starzak?
I'll abstain.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes.
And a thank you to Selectman Starzak for doing
Well,
his duties.
thank you for funding this organization. I will try to bring back some more diligent reports. And I'd honestly like to host another meeting here as well. I know the one we did host, the attendance was light because we did have some inclement weather. It was in January. But the members that did come, we had it in the community room with the police department. And it really was a great event. So it's, and I do believe, I can't recall if you were there. I know John had made it out. Actually, I think you dropped by, didn't you?
Yes.
You might have dropped by too,
I did
so
drop by, yeah.
if we do host again.
Maybe the senior center, the new conference room
Yeah,
in
and
the
honestly,
senior
that's
center?
the nice thing is every year we have a new great place to show off to the other towns.
Right.
So, you know, I'm always willing to try to host events like that to showcase what we're doing in our town, so, thank you.
Yes.
Any other business unknown at time of posting? And I will entertain a motion to go into executive session and then come back
Yes.
into open session. To consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
And it's for
31
Granite
Granite
Street.
Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to go into executive session, and we will come back into open session. Courtney, poll the board?
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Starzak?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes.